Hello everyone, Team Dace here. Thank you for joining us today for another segment with us, exploring some interesting business topics. If you didn't see our previous video about management and leadership and some key differences between managing and leading, we encourage you to go view that video as well and give you some foundational information that connects to the content of today's video, which is talking about leadership styles. And certainly today on July 2020, yes, the year is 2020 and we are already in the month of July. Understanding different leaders and talking about different leaders and the decisions they are making is a very important topic during this time in history when we are dealing with various issues like the coronavirus and the social justice issues that are being experienced in our world today, especially in the United States of America. So, one thing that we are hearing a lot about is how do leaders lead and what makes one leader different than another, and the style and the approach that they take, and some updated concepts and ideas about different ways to lead and how to get the most out of your employees, especially while a lot of organizations are operating with less staff than they usually have, or limited resources, and other considerations related to the challenges we're facing in our world today. So we want to stay along that same vein and just talk about some different leadership styles that are commonly discussed. Of course, leadership styles are characterized in many ways in different settings and by different groups, different organizations, different experts. The goal today is just to kind of highlight some of the common leadership styles that are discussed in the business world and just talk about some advantages, disadvantages, and appropriate uses of some of those leadership styles, what values they really drive and align with, and just some additional considerations when we think about leadership styles and leadership in general. I am not a licensed consultant, so this is not a consultation session in any manner. It is definitely just me sharing some information with you all through the beauty of the web and the platform of YouTube. Again, channel Team Dace, the world of business. If you have not watched our previous video, please go ahead and watch that. We also ask that you like, subscribe, and comment, and let us know what other topics you'd like to see us talk about on this channel. We're open to your feedback and your suggestions, and we love engaging with you all, and we appreciate your support. All right, so to today's topic, which is just looking at some commonly described leadership styles. Again, this is not all leadership styles in total, just some commonly discussed ones and what they look like. And as you are listening to these different types of leadership styles, I want you to think about some experiences you have had with leaders or as a leader, and think about when you may have seen these different styles used and in play, and what drove someone to choose to use that leadership style, and if it really seemed appropriate for the moment. So first, we want to talk about some general values that we typically see across leadership styles, and of course, different leadership styles use these values or display these values differently. But across the continuum of leadership styles, if you collectively gather the values that each demonstrates, these are some of the common themes across the board. So first, we have the value of trust, and there are definitely some leadership styles that are more aligned with the trust value than others. Some other values that we typically see in some of the leadership styles are respect, interpersonal and communication skills, vision, accountability, and transparency. And these are things that, generally speaking, again, anyone working with a leader values or would like to see in a leader. But again, different leadership styles used in different situations are more or less aligned to demonstrating those values. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. So the first leadership style I want to talk about is one that is not always applicable in every situation, and no leadership style really is, but it is definitely one that has a very specific situation in which it's applicable, which is the authoritarian leadership style. And this leadership style is usually applicable when you're in a crisis situation where there is not enough time to wait for multiple people to contribute to make a decision. A decision needs to be made immediately and expeditiously, and you need the person who is the knowledge expert to make that decision. So, of course, the advantage of this style is that it does lead to quick decisions that are usually able to produce consistent results because they are made by someone who is the expert on whatever the topic is or the issue at hand is. However, because this style usually looks to one person making the decision, it does not really help to cultivate a positive morale or culture or employee experience. And of course, from decreased morale, you may have increased employee turnover. Also, it's not a leadership style that really supports innovation. Innovation and creativity are usually stifled by this leadership style because, again, you're leaning mostly on one person to make the decisions about how things will be carried out. So you're not getting the benefit of the collective thinking of a group to inspire innovation and creativity. Also, of course, because you're not participating or collaborating with a group, there is limited collaboration and participation when this leadership style is used. But again, it can be useful if you are in a crisis situation and there is one person who is the expert on what to do in that situation. Now, a contrasting leadership style would be the visionary leadership style, which really the name speaks for itself. One of the key characteristics of this style is that it looks to provide a vision to those who are engaged with this leader and help them understand the why behind whatever it is that they are trying to accomplish. So it usually moves people toward a dream or a vision that is being produced or painted for the participants by the leader. This is a very good leadership style to use when the goal is to communicate why something is important. What are we aiming for? What are our organizational goals or objectives? That's a very good time to use the visionary leadership style to, again, help the employees or other individuals who are engaging with that leader to understand why we are pursuing a particular path or why we're being asked to do a particular task, etc. And it really is very good at reinforcing the importance of what it is that is being worked towards. One of the key benefits of this leadership style is that it demonstrates two of the values that we talked about earlier with leadership, which are vision and communication skills. And it's definitely a great leadership style to use in conjunction or in combination with another type of leadership style. You can be a visionary leader and also demonstrate another type of leadership style as well. However, like all leadership styles, this leadership style does have some drawbacks. So usually this leadership style is not appropriate when the leader is new to the team or when the team needs to be developed to grow together. This leadership style is definitely much more appropriate for an established team, and it's even more limited if the leader has not established a rapport with the team they are leading. Because again, you're not going to be able to get your team to follow you towards this vision that you are painting if they do not trust you, if they don't understand where you're coming from or know that what you know and that they should trust you. So that is one of the limitations of that leadership style. I'm going to move on to the affiliative leadership style, which really looks at helping people make connections and bringing groups of people together, helping them to connect with one another. It really looks at promoting a positive culture, morale, interactions, team development, etc. And of course, we see here that this leadership style demonstrates some of the values we talked about earlier of like interpersonal skills, right? And it's great for using when you have team members who are in conflict and they're not working together, to get them to work together better and to motivate people when things are challenging, not necessarily in crisis mode, because the focus here is on building relationships and skills, and you may not have time for that in crisis mode. But outside of crisis mode, when things are starting to escalate and become stressful, this may be a good leadership style to use, because again, we can help people relate to one another, understand each other, empathize with one another to move forward and make progress on the goals and objectives and tasks that are before your team. So the affiliative leadership style can be useful in that way. The affiliative leadership style also welcomes individuals to share their feelings and emotions about what is happening. So that can also be useful, again, if there is a situation that is inspiring a lot of emotions and thoughts and feelings going on. You may want to use the affiliative leadership style to help the team feel like they can relate to one another and to you as the leader. As we mentioned, some of the key values of this leadership style are interpersonal skills and developing respect amongst the team. But we have to remember, because this style is focused on improving performance by improving morale and helping people to become more collaborative, it may not be best when there is a crisis mode, or also because, again, this style focuses on the more positive aspects of the team. It may not be the best style to use when there is an opportunity to provide feedback about poor performance, because that is just not consistent with this style. So now we're going to move on to the participative leadership style. The main goal of the participative leadership style is to build commitment and help inspire innovation through participation and collaboration with the team members and a collective thinking pool to generate new ideas. So it's definitely best when you have a well-established team that has the expertise and the competency to contribute ideas for the progression of the team. And in terms of the values that we talked about earlier, it definitely demonstrates trust and the listening skills associated with effective communication. As I mentioned, it does help to facilitate innovation. Again, because this is a style similar to the previous style we discussed that works on collaboration and working together as a team, it is not the best style for a crisis situation, because you, again, may not have the luxury of time to wait for a consensus or a decision to be made by the team. That would be one consideration about this style. The next style we're going to move on to is the transactional style, and very much like its name suggests, a transactional leader looks at ways to create what we would call transactions to inspire employees or their team members to accomplish a task, a goal, etc. So they may offer rewards or punishments or other types of incentives to get the team to move toward the established goals. The good thing about the transactional leadership style is that with this style, usually the goals and the associated rewards and punishments are very clear. So what is expected in terms of performance is usually very clear for the team. The transactional leadership style is also good for helping to get the team to align to certain policies and procedures, because again, the goals and the rewards or punishments associated with not aligning with those policies or procedures are very clear when communicated by a transactional leader. The advantages of this leadership style include, as I mentioned before, clearly set goals, and transactional leaders are usually very successful at establishing SMART goals, and we'll talk about what SMART goals are in another segment, but they are very good at establishing SMART goals that help the team know exactly what is expected of them. And usually they are goals that are achievable for the team. So that can help to increase motivation and productivity because the team has a reward to work toward. However, one of the disadvantages of the transactional leadership style is that if the goals that are set are not achievable or realistic, or if the goals that are set do not match the incentives that are being offered, that could stifle the team in achieving its goals and objectives and tasks. Also, because the transactional leader is establishing certain incentives to accomplish what is being asked, the team is often disincentivized to be creative and think outside of the box and come up with other ways to accomplish the task because they're so focused on either avoiding a punishment or achieving a reward. So that's something to consider with a transactional leader. Also, a transactional leader, because they establish their relationship based on these transactions or these rewards and punishments, they often do not provide the opportunity for transformational change within the team or the organization, because again, that would be something that would be developed over time and more so a collaborative experience, whereas the transactional leader is more so looking at rewards and punishments. So then, of course, we want to talk about that transformational leader who does help to inspire change in the team or the organization, and not just have people work towards a particular reward, for example, but to actually experience true change. Transformational leaders are exactly what the name indicates. They are leaders that help to drive changes in the organization or the team over time, such as cultural changes, improvements in morale, etc., to help the team move to a new state or embrace a new way of doing things that will help the team get to the goals that the overall team or organization has. Of course, this leadership style usually results in improved morale and less employee turnover because everyone is growing together towards a common goal. As it relates to the values we discussed earlier, this leadership style often demonstrates vision, motivation, inspiration, and those interpersonal skills associated with helping individuals establish relationships, right? Because we're focusing on all defining what our culture is and how it is, for example, that we want to change that culture to be more productive. However, the disadvantages of this leadership style include employees could possibly be misled by a transformational leader if they are given a false vision or a false sense of hope. It also requires a lot of effort from the leader to continue to motivate and inspire employees, so that in and of itself could lead to burnout for the leader if they are not able to constantly keep up that motivation and inspiration of employees. And also because this is a process that's looking at transforming something, as we know, a transformation takes time to happen. So it's not, again, a leadership style that's best for a crisis mode because it takes a lot of time to make decisions and to make those transformations that we're looking for with this leadership style. So it may not be the best for crisis mode. Of course, with everything we've discussed, we always have to remember cultural considerations. So we talked a lot about values with each leadership style, and we have to remember that what is valued will vary in different cultures, and even the values that may be common across cultures, something like trust, may be demonstrated differently in different cultures. So not to take away from any cultural considerations, we always want to be mindful of those and how those play into different leadership styles, how cultural considerations influence what is expected of a leader, what is valued in a leader, and how a leader is expected to respond in a certain situation. So I hope that information was very helpful for you all, and I appreciate you all joining us today. Please like, subscribe, and comment as always, and please let us know what else you'd like to hear about. Please remember that this is strictly informational. I'm not a licensed consultant, so this is not a consultation. So when you think about all these different leadership styles, can you identify a time where you may have seen various leaders emerge in different situations because of how those leadership styles align with the needs of the situation? Thank you for joining us today. Enjoy, and until next time, take care.